Learning when you can eliminate specific types of evidence becomes really helpful in identifying ghosts, because if you can rule out that a ghost doesn't have a piece of evidence, maybe you can rule out one that's being stubborn, like freezing or dots, and you don't even need to get that, so you can identify the ghost. I would like to add a disclaimer before we go into everything, and that is that this is going to be based on 3 evidences. If you're playing 2 evidences or less, you can technically use these same strats. It's just going to mean that you're not going to have one of those as your hidden pieces of evidence, but it could still be a ghost that has that as a piece of evidence. I'm going to start out by talking about really 3 pieces of evidence that you should never eliminate no matter what. Pretty sure you could probably go ahead and guess what these are, but they are EMF 5, dots, and freezing. Now, EMF 5 can be stubborn sometimes, and if you don't know how EMF 5 works, if a ghost has EMF 5 as a piece of evidence, there is a 25% chance that an interaction that it does will give you an EMF 5 reading. So this means that you just want to keep using your EMF reader to look for EMF 5 for each interaction. Ghost throws something, use the EMF reader on it. What is the reading? Does it spike up to 5? A ghost touches a door, taps on a window, maybe even writes in the book or burns the crucifix. It's going to give off an EMF reading, and if it's EMF 5, there's a 25% chance of giving that off. So obviously common sense kind of tells you that if that is the case, you got to keep checking. You never want to rule it out. Technically, if you did it so much, the chances of you getting EMF 5 would be so low that you could potentially rule it out, but I wouldn't necessarily do that. Of course, dots you can never rule out because sometimes they can be really hard to see with the tier 1 dots projector. Dots are completely annoying sometimes, and so you never want to say, oh, well, I'm not seeing any dots, so it's not going to be dots. I would absolutely never recommend that you do that. Same kind of goes with freezing, in that there's a lot of variables when it comes to getting freezing temps. Mostly it's just time and kind of RNG on what the ghost is doing. If the ghost is roaming out of its ghost room a lot, it's going to be really hard to get that room to freezing because the temperature is based on where the ghost is. So where the ghost is, the temperature starts to drop, and if the ghost is roaming out of its room a lot, it may be very hard to get freezing temps. One trick you kind of can do is turn off the breaker so everything will be colder and there's a higher chance, possibly. I don't really know if that's scientifically accurate or not for this game, but it is a trick that I've done in the past. It's worked kind of decently. But other than that, it's just time. And I wouldn't say, well, it's been so long, it's not going to be freezing. You can kind of use that method if you're in the game for so long and never getting it. But what if the ghost just keeps roaming around or doing ghost events on you outside of the ghost room? There's too many variables that I would never feel comfortable just saying not going to be freezing 100%. So now let's go into when you can eliminate pieces of evidence. First one is pretty easy, and that's ghost orbs. Either it's there or it's not. Now, I will say this, I have noticed lately, and I've seen other people mention it too, that ghost orbs seem to be trickier to spot or like not showing up right away. I've noticed that lately in the gameplay since the console release version. So if you're watching this way after that, I don't know what's in now. But besides the point, I would keep checking throughout your game for ghost orbs. So obviously my strat that I love to recommend is take a video camera and use that as your flashlight to look for orbs, because if you see the orbs, you know that's where the ghost room is. The ghost is being stubborn with orbs, which it shouldn't technically be able to like hide them. It should spawn right away. I've had times where I've not seen orbs originally and then seen it late. And so, but if you don't see them at first, you find the ghost room and you know it's the ghost room because the temperature is dropping. You don't see it right away. You check a few minutes later, 5 minutes later, you still don't see it. You can just be safe marking it out. So orbs, it's either it's there or it's not. You definitely don't want to confuse other things for orbs, like some maybe floodlights or something in the house, other people's lights, snow, different things when it comes to orbs. But if it's not there, you can officially rule it out, and that'll also rule out a mimic. Now, when it comes to orbs, another ghost that has orbs is the Obake, and Obake has a 25% chance to not leave UV prints whenever it touches a door, for example. So when can you officially rule out UV? If you don't see any ghost orbs and you know a ghost just touched the door because you physically saw the door move, or you got an EMF reading on the door and you check it, you can rule it out. If you don't see orbs, so you know it can't be a mimic, can't be an Obake, you can rule out UV. Now, if you see orbs and mimic and Obake are still an option, I would recommend checking like 2 or 3 times, maybe even more. And even if you don't have orbs, just check it again. Like, there's no harm in checking, like, oh, the ghost touched this door again. Let me check it again. Okay, no orbs. I feel even more comfortable ruling it out. Every other ghost, other than the Obake and technically the mimic that can copy it, has a 100% chance of leaving UV if they have UV as evidence. So if a ghost touches a door and you don't see UV, you can technically rule it out as long as you don't have orbs. The better you get at the game, the better you're more willing to do that. If you're newer, you might be like, I don't know if I feel comfortable, but that's how it is. So again, try this stuff out for yourself. It works out really well. So UV, if you don't have orbs, you see a door touch, no UV, you can mark mark it out. I don't see the harm in checking again later on. Sometimes I'll do it anyways just to make sure nothing funky was happening, but really UV is pretty easy to mark out as well. Ghostwriting is another just really easy way to rule it out. If the ghost ever throws the book and does not write in it, rule it out. That's it. If that's why I love to try to get these ghosts to throw the ghostwriting book. If the ghost throws the book, it closes, shuts, boom, mark out ghostwriting. Not going to be one of your pieces of evidence. Spirit box is one I see a lot of people have problems with, and there's really like a few ways that I really feel comfortable ruling out spirit box. So first off, spirit box, again, make sure lights are off in the room and nobody else is in the room, unless of course it says it responds to everyone. But if it says it responds to we're unsure, just assume alone, and this is one way you want to try to rule it out. So if nobody else is in the room, the ghost turns off the light, or the lights are off in the room, and you have a ghost event where the ghost physically itself spawns on top of you and like walks towards you, start asking it spirit box questions, because it's based on how close you are to the ghost. You know, right after a physical form ghost event, which means not the little airball that Onis can't do, but actual ghost event where they're physically walking to you. Or if they're singing, you can go into the area that they're singing at and then start asking questions there, because you know that's where the ghost is. It's not lying to you, it's right there. So if nobody's in the room, lights are off, ghost just ghost evented on you, and you don't get spirit box, I would rule it out. There's also other ways you can kind of be more comfortable, like if you know the ghost just interacted with a door and you go to that area and you start asking spirit box, you can, and typically then I'll be sus of, okay, I really don't think it's gonna be spirit box, but I love to wait for the ghost event where I know specifically where the ghost is. Motion sensors can also help with this. If you see the ghost go through the motion sensor, or if it's like writing in the book, doing stuff like right next to you and you're not getting a spirit box response, that's another great way to just go ahead and mark out spirit box. And of course, if you are still new in Phasmophobia, click or tap the screen now. This is my ultimate beginner's guide. Just 3 areas that you definitely should work on first. It'll help you get so much better at the game. Thank you so much to all the channel members and all the Twitch subscribers for all the extra support. I truly do appreciate it. Happy hunting, everybody, and I'll see you where we learn some more beginner tips.